The NBA used to be the league everyone had their eyes on, the sport that dominated sports TV. But today, viewership is rapidly declining, and fans are left wondering what happened. From falling ratings to complaints about the style of play, it's clear that the league is facing serious issues. So what's behind this sudden decline? Is it just a temporary trend, or is the NBA really in trouble? Let's uncover the truth behind the NBA's struggles and discover where the game we once loved is headed. The NBA's decline is something fans can't ignore anymore.
You are the chosen one! Bring balance to the force, not leave it in darkness!
Year after year, the league seems to be struggling more, and Adam Silver's leadership is taking a lot of heat. The situation is being talked about more than ever, with people like JJ Redick, Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd, and ESPN debate shows all chiming in.
You know, LeBron responded with 2 pictures, and I wasn't sure who the first guy was, because the second guy's Jason Kidd, and it's like, oh, he's done a great job, and it's like, yeah, but Jason Kidd also, and JJ has this going for him as well, like, you know, former athlete turned coach is a little different, which is where I think JJ probably has more of a, you know, margin for error here. But the other guy,
even LeBron James has weighed in on the issue, and YouTubers are adding their thoughts too. The league that used to dominate sports viewership is now dealing with a shocking drop in its audience. Fans and analysts are starting to wonder what's behind this fall-off and whether the NBA can ever get back to where it was. The frustrating part is that Silver's responses haven't helped ease the situation at all. Instead, it feels like things have only gotten worse. Take a look at the numbers. Viewership has dropped by a staggering 177% compared to last year. That's a massive fall across the board on networks like TNT, ESPN, and ABC. It's a clear sign that something is seriously wrong, and it's urgent that the league's leadership step up. A 177% drop means the league is now drawing less than a third of the audience it had just a year ago. This isn't just a problem for broadcasters. It's affecting everything: revenue, sponsorship deals, and the NBA's overall popularity. And the impact is only going to get worse, from lower merchandise sales to less lucrative broadcasting contracts in the future. Then there's the issue with the game itself. Fans are frustrated with the direction the NBA is heading, especially with the overemphasis on three-point shooting. A recent game between the Chicago Bulls and the Charlotte Hornets saw both teams combine for a record 75 missed three-pointers.
JT Thor to the corner, misses a 3, Vucevic the rebound.
That's not just a bad game. It's a sign of how far the league has drifted from the competitiveness and creativity that made it exciting. The NBA's obsession with spacing the floor and trying to replicate the Warriors' success has watered down the product. The NBA's issues go way beyond just the style of play. A lot of the complaints come from fans who miss the 90s and early 2000s era when the game felt more physical and competitive. Sure, those times had their charm, but let's be honest, they weren't as efficient. Teams scored fewer points, and shooting percentages were way lower. Today's players are more skilled, more efficient, and more impactful. The level of talent is through the roof. The shift to three-point shooting and faster play has made the game quicker and more exciting. But some fans can't get past the nostalgia. They're stuck in the past, craving the old-school game instead of accepting how much the NBA has evolved. Make no mistake, the NBA is facing some serious challenges right now. The game looks a lot different than it used to, and for many, that's a tough pill to swallow. With teams leaning so heavily on three-pointers, we're seeing field goal percentages drop. Shooting from deep is no joke, and it's way harder than taking those inside shots from the 90s. Right now, the average field goal percentage in the league sits at 47%, with 37% from three. The true shooting percentage is at 57%. Compare that to the 90s, when true shooting was around 53%. And even the best teams like the Bulls or the Jazz were below today's average. Some say the decline in offensive efficiency is due to improved defense, but that's not exactly the case. Sure, defenses aren't as dominant as they were back in the 90s, but they're still doing their job. The average defensive rating today is 113.298, and even the weakest defensive teams like the Thunder or Rockets would be considered above average compared to the 90s. Offenses have just gotten so effective that it's made defense seem less important. The NBA is facing some serious issues right now, and they need to be addressed quickly. One of the biggest problems is load management. Players skipping games for rest has fans frustrated, especially when stars sit out just because they feel like it. It's killing the excitement of the game when the best players aren't even on the court. Then there's the constant criticism of how soft the league has become.
end, that's what this comes down to. The protests are definitely legitimate and profound. We get all of that. We can't ignore it. Pay attention to it. But what's the end game?
The game is full of foul baiting and too much three-point shooting. Watching teams chuck up nearly 100 threes and miss most of them isn't fun, and it's turning off casual fans. On top of that, the lack of variety in playing styles is making the game feel less dynamic. The NBA used to be a lot more exciting, and now it feels like it's stuck in a one-dimensional style of play. While the game has improved in some ways, it's obvious there are huge issues that need fixing. The big question is, can the NBA strike a balance between the modern, efficient style and the tough, gritty play that made the league great? In recent years, the NBA has tried to keep things fresh with some questionable moves. The NBA Cup and constant changes to the All-Star Game format have confused both fans and players. And let's not forget the never-ending rule changes, which only make it harder to keep up with the game. While some might welcome the changes, most fans prefer the familiar, the things that remind them of the past. The constant change, especially when compared to just a decade ago, has caused a lot of fans to tune out. They're frustrated, and many have stopped watching altogether. And let's talk about social media for a second.
They have to do something to make a change, or else no one's going to want to watch.
I hate it. It's straight bullshit.
What the NBA is becoming, it's just a viral clip that you'll see the next day.
While the ratings are dropping and negativity is growing around the league, a lot of that is being fueled online. Take the Bulls-Hornets game, for example, where 75 combined missed threes made headlines.
The Hornets and the Bulls combined to shoot 22 for 97 from three-point range on Friday. They missed 75 three-pointers.
The majority of fans probably didn't even watch the game, but once that stat spreads on social media, it becomes all anyone can talk about. This kind of narrative only makes things worse, creating a toxic conversation that convinces people the NBA is in free fall.
NBA, you lose, you still getting money. And I know for sure, like, after you lose, you're like, damn, I lost. You be hurt. Look at your bank account, $35 million. College, you really lose, you're done.
That's it.
Even if they still enjoy the games. Social media can spin the story, and it's making the NBA look worse than it really is.
Now it is being set up analytically. The proof's in the pudding that if you play this way, it equates to wins. So you can't just remove that.
Let's be real, the NBA is far from dying. Sure, there are areas to improve, but the game itself is still as competitive and entertaining as ever. The whole idea that the NBA is boring is simply not true. The game is still incredible, but with the rise of TikTok, Instagram stories, and YouTube shorts, people's attention spans have shrunk. Sitting down for a 2.5-hour game multiple times a week doesn't hit the same way anymore. Even the most passionate fans struggle to stay locked in for the full game. The real issues are rooted in nostalgia, shorter attention spans, and the constant spread of misinformation on social media. People complain about the league's decline without even acknowledging how much of it is fueled by these distractions. The NBA is still delivering top-tier basketball, but the narrative around it is being shaped by the fast-paced, media-driven world we live in. So how much of the negativity is actually based on the facts? Maybe it's time to look at the bigger picture. In conclusion, the NBA isn't dying, but it's certainly at a critical turning point. With declining viewership, troubling trends, and shifting expectations, fans are asking, can the league find the balance between modern efficiency and the competitive fire that once made it great? It's clear that the game is changing, but is it changing in the right direction? The NBA is facing these challenges, and the question remains, can it reclaim its former glory, or is this the beginning of a new era? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on the latest updates.